It's Star Wars meets Peaky Blinders meets Ted Lasso. The Galactic Football League series by #1 New York Times bestselling author Scott Sigler is now a free, unabridged podcast. The GFL is a star-spanning, high-action, high-stakes, coming-of-age story set against the backdrop of a professional football league 700 years in the future. That's the Galactic Football League series. Search for Scott Sigler, Sigler, wherever you get your podcasts.
Hello, I'm Alison Larkin, writer, comedian, narrator, and host of the Jane Austen podcast. Join me as we embark on a journey through Austen's timeless stories, starting with Pride and Prejudice. The Jane Austen podcast with Alison Larkin is available wherever you listen to podcasts.
What we're seeing here may be the result of some kind of military experiment.
Military experiment?
An artificial time bend where matter moves through time at an accelerated rate.
Tell me in English.
Time may be speeding up.
Right. That's almost as crazy as Alverson's. There's a rock that comes down from the sky.
The ship was launched in 1991. I don't know how else to explain the extent of the corrosion or the decay of the bodies down below.
You're not buying any of this, are you?
Welcome to the eX-Files. That's the eX-Files, a buffering rewatch adventure where we are watching and discussing every episode of the eX-Files one by one, spoiler free. There's nothing wrong with my knot. I'm Jenny Owen Youngs, ex-wife of Kristin Russo, and I grew up watching the eX-Files.
Oh, and Jenny, I'm so glad you inherited your father's legs. I'm Kristin Russo, and I am the ex-wife of Jenny Owen Youngs. I've only seen 43 episodes. I'm stuck on you with Larry Young's legs. You know what I mean? Like
I know.
I can't unsee it now. I've only ever seen 43 episodes of the eX-Files. Today we are talking about season 2, episode 19, Dod Kalm. One word is Norwegian and the other is simply a suggestion of what Norwegian might be.
Dod Kalm features a story by Howard Gordon with a teleplay by Howard Gordon and Alex Ganza, and it was directed by Rob Bowman. It originally aired on March 10th, 1995, 2 years to the day before Buffy the Vampire Slayer would eventually premiere.
That's exactly what I thought when I saw March 10th. Did you know that my father passed away on March 10th? So now anytime I think about the anniversary of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, it's also the anniversary of my father's death.
Oh.
Wild. Because Buffy the Vampire Slayer has wrapped its little grapevine tendrils, thank you, around my being in so many ways that when my dad took his last breath and it was March 10th, I was like, come on, like, are you kidding me? Anyway, that's not what we're talking about today. What we're talking about today is that this episode, according to IMDb, is the one where the crew of a U.S. military ship that disappeared in the Norwegian Sea is found Dod. Sorry, I plan on saying Dod for dead for the entire episode. From what seems to be rapid aging. Thinking it's another Philadelphia experiment, Mulder boards the ghost ship along with Scully and a local skipper. A local skipper. Trondheim is... I don't know if Trondheim likes the title of a local skipper. He seems like a little bit of a more burly man than would go by the title skipper.
I thought he had a real skippery vibe myself.
I actually have a specific note about Trondheim, Jenny, which is I think that Trondheim's wardrobe is what Jenny aspires to in her day-to-day life.
Yeah, Trondheim is wearing cool stuff. I mean, all of the Nords are wearing cool gear.
Mm-hmm. Even the American Nords, you know.
Yeah. All of the sailors. The guy who plays Trondheim is actually, his given name is John Smealy Youngs.
Any relation? I could see it. You look Norwegian.
Not that I know of. He had the good sense to adopt a stage name, John Savage. I will henceforth be known as Jenny Owen Savage.
Jenny Owen Savage and Kristin Guitar. That's a joke for folks who listen to Fallout. Also, listen, we'll get to LaToya's scary ranking.
That sounds like an animated series Mad Max spin-off for children.
Jenny Owen Savage and Kristin Guitar. Take
yeah,
the
you'd
world
be like
by storm.
The daughter of the Doof Warrior, Kristin Guitar, is on an epic quest to find her long-lost cat. And in order to do so, she must team up with the most unlikely of allies, Jenny Owen Savage, the local daughter of some war boy and a war lady. The daughter of a father, the daughter of a very violent, a daughter who inherited her father's legs and war boy tendencies. What do you think?
I love it. We're definitely gonna find my fucking cat. I can tell you that.
I know.
Johnny.
Why are we?
Johnny Savage? I'm just calling him Johnny Savage now because it just feels right with the last name Savage. John Savage. I saw him on screen and my brain was like, every bell was ringing. I know this man. I know this man. I fucking know this man. So I looked up John Savage, or I looked up who plays Trondheim. I found John Savage. Credits 1979's Hair the Musical. This is fucking Claude, Manchester, England. I gave very stern words to LaToya because her notes did not include singing Manchester, England to me, and I expected them to be there. But for those of you who are fans of Hair, this is Claude. He is the character who is supposed to go serve in Vietnam, but instead, who is that guy? Who plays him? The other guy. He's a famous actor too. Treat Williams.
There it is.
But instead, Berger, played by Treat Williams, spoilers for the musical Hair, gets sent in his place and winds up serving in his place. It's a good musical. You should watch it. Anyway, LaToya's scary ranking.
Special agent and producer LaToya Ferguson gives this episode a scary ranking of 1 out of 5 Wrinkle in Times. Wrinkles in time? Question mark. LaToya says, I think this episode is scary if any of these 4 things work for you. 1, the X-Files score going off, telling you once again that things are scary. 2, you're spooked by the Bermuda Triangle or things of that nature. And to be fair, in the 80s and 90s, much like quicksand, the Bermuda Triangle was a national concern. So true, LaToya.
Mm-hmm.
3, you're scared by the very concept of old people. The Excelsis Dei principle. Even when the actors themselves aren't really old and the makeup looks more like mold. I did not rhyme intentionally, LaToya adds. Or 4, you truly and fully believe that Mulder and or Scully could very well die and the show would have to move on without them.
Which maybe at the time you had more ability to believe that something like that could happen. Yeah. But at this
uncertainty was everywhere.
At this point, we don't have to fear their demise. We certainly know they live for many, many more years. General thoughts on this episode, Jennifer?
Oh my gosh.
Owen,
well, first
Savage?
Of all, yeah. A couple things. Here we are back on a frigging boat.
When you got a boat, you use a boat.
They had access to this Navy destroyer and they crammed it into 3 episodes. They were like, we got to make the absolute most of this spend since we're constantly over budget.
But then spent $1 billion million anyway on production. Oops.
I was reading some production notes in the various wikis and whatnots that we scan through when we prepare for episodes, and there was a production note that really cracked me up. Both Anderson and Duchovny hated the special makeup that made them look older. Two young, beautiful actors hated being made to look older and kind of moldy. I'm relieved to see Scully's hair looking better in this ep from last ep, but Mulder's hair looks like one of those novelty foot brushes that it looks like a hedgehog and is next to your mom's front door for you to brush your feet off before you go in.
It's really bad. It might be, it's close to its peak bad. I remember the episode with vampires. I remember Mulder's hair preceded him as he came up above the window. I think that was the worst. But this is close. There's a scene where he's like lit from the side. I think he's like standing at the fridge in the ship. And I was like, oh my God. Like I was no longer worried about anything else on this episode except for the state of Mulder's hair. And I'm surprised that you said that Scully's hair is looking good, because the minute that she ages, Jenny, it's like she can't put the strand of hair behind her ear. Like it's just stuck there.
Okay,
you know?
but do you remember what her hair looked like in Fearful Symmetry?
Honestly, I don't remember what my hair looked like this morning. So
Okay. All right. Forgive me for bringing it up.
I do remember what Mulder's hair looked like in the vampire episode, though.
Okay. Jess thought this episode was really scary.
Nice. Does Jess
she was
have
stressed
a
out
fear
the whole
of
time.
ships?
Yeah, I don't think she's a fan of the open sea.
So she must have had a lot of fun on that cruise you took her on recently.
Yeah, well.
Yeah, I felt fine about this episode. I honestly, and I don't mean to be an asshole, but I could not stop laughing once Mulder and Scully got old. I think, Jenny, if you and I boarded a ship and found out, oh no, it's aging us quickly, that somehow we would be really scared, but also I can't imagine ever stopping hysterically laughing at your old wrinkled face as you said serious things to me.
First of all, we've already pretty much established that I would look cool dead, and therefore we can sort of extrapolate from there that I would look cool old.
I'm sure that, listen, Gillian Anderson, who looks cooler than Gillian Anderson at her current age? But this is not old. This is mold. This is different. The first guy that we see, the first soldier that we see when he's in the Bethesda hospital, I was like, this looks like the Ronald Reagan mask that you put on to rob a bank. Like that.
Dude, it was making me nuts trying to figure out what this reminded me of, and that is it. Because right? we had I don't know why we had a Ronald Reagan mask, a rubber Ronald Reagan Halloween mask in my house growing up.
Yeah, I think that mask was very popular for bank robbers and children alike.
Oh.
But yeah, this episode was it was fine. I'm having a good time. Like that's what I'm realizing is, like, you know, the fearful symmetry of it all, the Dod Kalm of it all. Like, I'm signed up for these episodes that are super like wild and wacky, even though they don't nail everything. I think that I'm most frustrated so far with the X-Files. Like, my biggest frustration so far is when we're in the myth arcs. That's the one, right? That's like the government conspiracy, aliens, sister, all of that. When we're in that space and it's not done well, that's more frustrating to me. Like, I'm all about having a good time on the Monster of the Week episodes or whatever we're calling these. And so I had a fun time on a ship where people got old and salty and their hands fell off, and couldn't believe, Jenny, I could not believe that Mulder didn't lick the salt. I really believe that Mulder would have just put his little tongue on it just one time, just to see if it was salty. But I thought it was a good time and gave us more of Scully's commitment to Mulder at all costs, which, you know, is a thread I'm interested in following.
I know. Even the episode that's still, I think, a couple seasons off that was banned after it initially aired, and there are some arguments that we could make for not covering it. Even that episode has important sort of like character development and reveal material that will probably mean you have to watch the most disturbing episode of the X-Files.
I'm sure that I have to watch it for sure. I imagine if they gave us Mulder and Scully's first kiss in this episode when they were moldy.
Mulder.
I know. I played
and
around with
Scumly.
Mulder and Scully. I really tried to find some good names.
Scumly.
Scumly. Okay, well, there you go. Mulder and
Is that
Scumly.
anything? Hey, let me just quick check the porn site where I found the Triple X-Files and see if there's a Mulder and Scumly episode. Installment?
Don't yuck anyone's yum, Jenny.
I wasn't yucking. It's just journalism at its finest, Kristin. Okay, so let's the setup. So we're just off to the races. Right out of the gate here. Dudes are abandoning ship. Lieutenant Harper's leaving. Captain Barclay is staying. There's some sort of vague talk about it's gonna happen to us and I'm not sticking around, and they leave. And only Captain Barclay seems to be staying. Okay, 18 hours later, a captain and his first mate are playing blackjack in their little boat when avast, matey, there's a ship nearby. The enviable fisherman fits in this moment. Sweaters, plaid jackets, beanies abound. They're just...
I don't like the word shackets.
Shackets.
It doesn't... No.
Okay. It's none of... Look, you don't have to like it, Kristin.
That's fair.
I don't actually like it either, but there's no other way to describe what that man is wearing. It is simply a shacket. It's neither it's not a shirt.
Not yet.
Not yet a jacket.
So this guy is what? Scottish? I love his accent. I wanted to hang on to him for a lot. We're throwing you a line. I was like, oh, is it Angel? Liam?
But wow, the person that he throws the line to can barely grasp the rope.
The hands, because I didn't know, first time watching it, I didn't know where we were going. And I was like, those are, there was no part of me that thought it was just an old person's hands. I was like, and fucking, what's that guy that goes through the vents? Fucking, what's his name?
Toombs
is back. He's fucking pulling his little fingies up this rope. It just looked supernatural, not just old.
These men were in the bloom of youth only 18 hours ago. There's so many of them in this little lifeboat. And the captain is like, are there any injured? And he gasps because everyone is old. Okay, to be fair, they have kind of a horror movie zombie look.
Yeah, they do.
Which is arguably more which is definitely more shocking than some old people in a lifeboat.
Yeah. If it was just old people. And my note, I was just laughing at my own note because all I wrote was all the soldiers are so old and so fucked, which I feel like really, it's not just old, also fucked.
Yes, you've encompassed it all.
Yeah. And I was like, there's got to be a reason when we see the makeup, not necessarily in this scene, but in the next scene, I was like, there has to be a reason why we have not simply cast old people to play old people, and then once we got to the Mulder and Scumly of it all, I was like, okay, this is the reason that we had to go hard on makeup and not just old people.
Wait, so you didn't think when you saw this boat, did you not think it was the same people from the ship?
No, I did, but I mean
you were like, why didn't they just cast other actors?
Right, just have old
versions.
People.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, okay, yes, okay. At the Bethesda? Why, that's the company that makes Fallout and Skyrim. Naval Hospital. Scully gets off an elevator and is immediately roped into some nonsense.
Listen to this, Jenny. What was so urgent that you couldn't tell me on the phone? The Mulders, as a family, refuse. Just come here. Come here.
He's like, anyone could be listening. Anyone could be listening. Okay. He's like, there's this missing American destroyer escort ship, the Ardent. A trawler just picked up 18 survivors. Only one of them is still alive right now. Mulder can't get in to talk to him, but because of Scully's medical background, oh yeah, she's got a medical background. MD.
Did you just do the jingle live, or do we get to play it when she actually says it?
Well, yeah, later we'll get to play the actual jingle.
Later, 4 seconds later. Great.
Yeah. So he's like, here, take this ID that I scammed up for you and go in and doctor about. So she's like, okay. She goes to talk to Lieutenant Harper and she's like, I think there must be a mistake. This chart says this man is 28 years old. The orderly or whomstever she's talking to could not give less of a single fuck.
No, up for smug bitch, this guy.
But enter Dr. Laskos, who is like, what are you doing here? Where's your ID? This clearance code is invalid. Mulder, you couldn't even get her a valid clearance code?
That blew me away. That Mulder fucking did like got her a fake ID card and just made her like, I believe that he just made her believe that clearance code was valid so she would walk in with confidence. And like,
didn't this happen in the astronaut episode too? They were like booping around and all of a sudden they could boop no farther.
Yeah, they had to fucking hide and they did they just stood up against the wall like cockroaches, just like yeah. She's got an invalid code and this doctor is like, get the fuck out of here. Who are you?
Scully does manage to say, who am I? Why? I'm medical doctor. Oh yeah, she's a medical doctor. MD. She also manages to request an autopsy report on her way out. And Kristin, if she tries to take a bath in this episode, we will have what I'm now calling a Scully Royale.
Yes. I have not the Royale note, but the same note. I was like, wow, she got medical doctor and autopsy report inside of like 8 words. Like she just went for it. Give the woman an autopsy. Her fee per episode is this amount of money plus an autopsy every episode or else. She let this one slide because she got to autopsy an elephant last week. So in Mulder's office, she does not. The first thing I would have said when I walked into Mulder's office is, "Are you fucking kidding me? You gave me a fake security code."
I know, right?
She just lets his ass slide on this.
She's numb. So he starts talking some shit about the 65th parallel. He's like, all of these ships, when they hit the 65th parallel. I did check out the 65th parallel. There's no, like, there doesn't seem to be, at least on the Wikipedia article for the 65th parallel. It does not seem to be a known ship disappearance
I'm glad
site or
I
anything.
didn't try to look it up because I wrote the 56th parallel.
Oh
I didn't
my
even write the
gosh.
right one.
I did find this detail, though. When Mulder shows Scully the map of Europe, he tells her a ship left from Leeds and disappeared near Norway. This may not be true, as Leeds is a landlocked city in England. However, the River Aire does flow directly through the heart of Leeds and empties into the River Ouse? O-U-S-E? Ouse? Which empties into the River Trent. England,
What is this, a fucking
absolutely
Bible story?
riddled with rivers begetting each other, which leads to the North Sea. This makes for an unlikely but possible route to the sea.
I'm glad somebody figured that out. Don't you call Mulder a liar. We'll find a fucking stream that connects to a waterfall that connects to that gets us out. Okay, so Scully posits another Bermuda Triangle, right? And to LaToya's credit, this is true. The Bermuda Triangle, I read up on it, Jenny, and I was surprised to learn that actually maybe it's not even a thing. Because up until like 2 days ago, I was like, the Bermuda Triangle, you die. You go there, you fucking die. It's been proven. It's been documented.
Everybody knows this.
Everybody knows the Bermuda Triangle. Now, I'm not going to take us on a deep dive on the Bermuda Triangle, but I do want to read to you one of the explanations of why some of the ships that have gone missing in the Bermuda Triangle may have gone missing. And this is a phenomenon not just isolated to this area. However, it's something I didn't know existed and I will never get on a boat again.
Oh, no.
An explanation for some of the disappearances has focused on the presence of large fields of methane hydrates, a form of natural gas on the continental shelves. Laboratory experiments carried out in Australia have proven that bubbles can indeed sink a scale model ship by decreasing the density of the water, and any wreckage would be deposited on the ocean floor or rapidly dispersed by the Gulf Stream. It's been hypothesized that periodic methane eruptions, sometimes called mud volcanoes, may produce regions of frothy water that are no longer capable of providing adequate buoyancy for ships. If this were the case, such an area forming around a ship could cause it to sink very rapidly and without warning.
So what I would like to say is no thank you.
I'm sorry, you could just be floating on the water and then all of a sudden physics says, not anymore, actually. The water can't support you. Bloop, down to the bottom of the sea. No warning. Anyway.
I don't care for that at all.
I know. Like, I'd prefer to believe in the Bermuda Triangle before I would prefer to believe in mud volcanoes that can sink a ship with a mere change of density or whatever, the buoyancy, whatever. Anyway, Mulder isn't even talking about a Bermuda Triangle. He's talking about a wrinkle in time.
That's not all that's going to be wrinkled by the end of this episode, Kristin.
Dun-dun-dun. Jenny is forcefully wrinkling her forehead right now, and I'm concerned about future wrinkles staying. Jenny, you might want to be careful.
Oh, no, anything but a wrinkle on a forehead. Quick, inject something immediately. Okay.
Okay, so this is when the Philadelphia experiment comes up. This is a real thing, and what's interesting is that when Scully first... Like, when I first heard this, I thought Scully was like, oh, yeah, where they tried to make ships invisible because Mulder takes it to that place. Like, yeah, it wasn't just that. But Scully is saying what it actually was, which was trying to use technology and other stuff that I don't understand to make ships invisible to radar. So, like, undetectable to radar, not literally invisible.
Right. But I guess if you're talking about ships, pretty much making something invisible on radar is effectively making it invisible.
If a ship falls in the forest and no one is there to see it, was it a ship at all?
A question for the ages. So Mulder's like, ooh, all of the scientists who were supposed to be relocated from the Philadelphia experiment to the Manhattan Project never made it there. They ended up in Roswell, New Mexico. Where else?
Are you suggesting that the Philadelphia experiment used alien technology?
Well, less than 9 months after the alleged crash of a UFO in Roswell, New Mexico, the USS Eldridge did more than just hide from radar screens. It disappeared altogether from the Philadelphia Navy Yard, only to reappear minutes later, hundreds of miles away in Norfolk, Virginia.
That's not possible, Mulder, not without defying all laws of time and space.
Those physicists may have been trying to manipulate wormholes on Earth.
Wormholes.
Wormholes? That doesn't sound like any of our business.
Scully,
if I'm being
honestly,
honest.
it's like Scully can't believe that a new thing has been introduced, but she has to be mildly excited that it's not like regressive hypnotherapy or
for once.
aliens or, you know, like we've gotten a lot of repetition. First occurrence of a wormhole on the X-Files. Love to see it. Do you believe in a wormhole, Jenny? Do you believe that a wormhole can exist?
You know, I feel like my attitude towards things like wormholes and so many other things that fall under a particular umbrella is maybe, but I hope not, or I wish them the best, but I hope they stay away from me personally.
Right. I mean, I think you have to get near a worm. You have to seek out a wormhole, right? Well, I guess these guys didn't have to seek out this. It wasn't a wormhole, but wormholes in space. So the only way that I've ever understood what a wormhole is the like very basic. You have a piece of paper and you draw a dot on either side of the piece of paper. And so the distance is this amount. But then if you fold the piece of paper in half, the dots are right next to each other. So the distance has changed. That's, of course, like the least science, like, you know what I mean? But it's the way my brain can understand it. So I feel like somewhere in the universe, there must exist some place where this is true. But I don't feel I'm not scared of accidentally stumbling upon a wormhole. Maybe joke's on me. I don't.
Yeah, I mean, sounds like some famous last words.
Yeah. I
ain't afraid of no
I wasn't
wormhole.
worried about a volcano erupting. A volcano literally started to erupt.
Yeah.
So.
Shh, Kristin.
Yeah.
No more you're not allowed to talk anymore.
Fuck. Ugh.
Okay. Actual portals where matter interfaces with time at a relatively decelerated or accelerated rate. No, thank you.
Didn't we talk about
sounds like
that
there could be
astronaut
practical
set of twins?
applications.
One went up to space, the other one stayed home, and one came back older.
Yeah, we did talk about them.
All right, whatever. Mulder booked a flight to Norway. He answers to no man. Skinner, we don't get to see what happens with Skinner, but let me tell you what. You
didn't look ahead and see that the next episode is just titled Mulder is Grounded.
Yeah. Daddy is mad. Skinner is so pissed. This bitch went all the way to fucking Norway, rented a fucking boat, killed the fucking skipper who rented the boat. This guy, he's in trouble.
Yeah.
Big trouble. Anyway, Scully's going to go because she wants to know what happened to Captain whoever that was in the hospital.
As a medical doctor, she has to know.
She has to know. She needs to know the science. She can't just let Mulder run around up there. She knows that science needs to be involved. And thank fucking God she went, because it's only because of her beautiful diary that anyone lived.
Okay. Mulder and Scully are chatting up some captains at a sailor's bar. Nobody wants to take them where they want to go.
No, and Scully is like, suddenly, this is like, you know how in Buffy, Xander dressed up as a soldier one time and then like retained all of his like military training. Like
yes.
Scully just simply has an understanding of being a seaman from her
being the daughter of it. Well, she inherited her father's legs. So.
She did. So she's like, my father never feared the ocean, and I see fear in these men's eyes. I was like, damn, Scully.
It's like, isn't Scully like 27?
Yeah.
Canonically. That just sounds like some old world wisdom coming from a 27-year-old. But I guess she's seen some shit.
She has.
Mulder, not unlike the hulking Jamie Fraser of Outlander fame, so seasick. So seasick. This poor boy is green.
Fucking LaToya's, I have to take a minute to find LaToya's verbatim quote because it made me laugh so hard. LOL, rich boy Mulder gets seasick.
Seasickness does not recognize class,
but like
does not recognize creed.
But like I assume to fucking LaToya's point, you would think that this rich boy raised on Martha's fucking vineyard would have spent a large portion of his life on rich fucking ships, sailboats, what have you. And so either that's true and this tiny Mulder child was green for 50% of his youth, or who knows, but it just...
Maybe he just forgot his C-bands.
Yeah, he's so sick, but not Scully. She's fine. She's just fine. Thank you very much. Also, don't forget that we learn at the bar before we see Mulder getting seasick that these other sailors won't take them where they want to go. And Trondheim, who is going to take them, says that the reason they won't take them is because there's a legend that years ago something crashed into the ice. Scully says meteorite. He says evil god ? And he explains that they worship this by staying away. And that's an interesting turn of phrase, but it's sort of like they basically respect that this is not a place for them. They're not going to fuck around with whatever they don't know. But leave it to the American in Norway. Fuck your legends. Let's go. And so then they sail off.
Okay, speaking of making ships invisible on radar, whoa! This ship is popping on and off of the radar. Beep, bop, and they bonk right into it, Kristin.
I was really stressed out when Trondheim says, we're gonna hit. It was such a believable line delivery. Like, I was like, oh no, we're gonna hit. Like, I really felt the anxiety
You're
in
like
my soul.
bracing yourself on your couch.
On my couch, yeah, fuck. We're going in. And they do. They bonk right into the USS Ardent, which looks like a ship that has not been touched in 20 to 30 years, despite the fact that we
Look at all this corrosion.
Yeah, but we immediately see the 1991 placard corroding before our eyes. Shout out to flashlights.
Oh no, and that's not the only thing that's corroded. When you were growing up, was it like a really big insult when you were a kid if you said somebody was corroded?
No.
That was, I don't know why or where it came from.
but-
And I have yet to find somebody who had a similar experience, but in elementary school, that was the sickest burn you could level at someone.
Well,
You're
you're
corroded.
pinging something for me, which is like, I feel like we would say like grody, which feels like maybe like you know what I mean? Maybe there was like some kind of thing happening with corroded. I don't know.
We had grody too, and it was just
It was
a separate.
it was a different thing.
Yeah.
The other day, my sister sent me, this is just a big aside, but maybe it will make some of you 90s kids remember. She sent me this thing on Instagram. It was a reel, and it was an old Barbie who had rollerblades. And the rollerblades had basically just like the flint that you put in a lighter underneath them. So when you pushed Barbie on her rollerblades, it just like sparked out the side of her rollerblades. And we had that fucking Barbie, and I forgot about it and just was like, holy shit. And the Instagram was really funny because it was like there were a lot of what were called spark toys in the 90s, but nearly all of them had like the spark was enclosed in something, but this Barbie, the sparks are just like flying, like just absolutely, it's a full, just like a lighter without the fluid, sparking as she rode by. So, anyway, I was sad that Barbie didn't make it into the new Barbie movie.
Yeah.
Okay, so
wait, were her rollerblades high heeled to like fit her like angled feet?
That's a good question. I only remember her with the rollerblades on, but they definitely come off because in the video he is just playing with one of them. So maybe they were not high heeled, but maybe the interior of the rollerblade was sort of like shaped like her high heeled foot. Of course. So she was super comfortable in those rollerblades.
Yeah.
All right, so they go downstairs and there's just a pile of salty dead people. Scully.
Dude, when she lightly taps a hand with her pen, she's like, look at this residue. The entire hand falls off as though it were like a sugar sculpture or something.
Yeah, it's pretty gnarly. And then as they're down there, they hear Trondheim's. This is my nightmare. This is where I align with Jess.
This is now pretty bad.
Their only fucking way home. They've been out there for 12 hours. They're in the middle of the goddamn sea. And this boat has been stolen. I write in my notes, how does no one jump in after this ship? They won't reach it, but just instinctively, like I just feel like my instincts would have like propelled me to try to chase this ship my last way off the island, you know?
Dreadful. So dreadful.
Okay, so later, Mulder and Scully are trying to get the radio to work, but it is also too corroded to be fixed. Fucking Trondheim is like the engine. You can't even tell that it's an engine. That's how disgustingly corroded it is. And basically what we are is Dod in the water.
I just remembered I have a different podcast taping that I need to get to with my other co-host.
It's fine. I can do it by myself.
Me very busy. I should go.
Oh, we opened with this sound clip. This is between Mulder and Trondheim, where Trondheim is like, can you please explain to me what the fuck you're saying using English words instead of your scientific insanity? And so Mulder's explaining time might be speeding up. Mulder has gotten a whole new kind of confidence at just telling random people all the time that like aliens are abducting your zoo animals. Time is speeding up. He doesn't even like, he used to, remember how he used to like saddle up to a sheriff in the woods and be like, so what do you think about UFOs? And if the guy looked at him with a knowing glance, he would sort of offer up more information. He doesn't care anymore. He's just saying what he says.
He's got to be Mulder.
They also never said that they were FBI agents, to my knowledge, which seems like maybe an important thing to disclose.
Scene was cut.
Americans take about 20,000 breaths a day and spend an average of 90% of their time indoors. Get outside, you guys. But when you're inside, you should know that the indoor air that we breathe can be up to 100 times more polluted than outdoor air, according to the EPA. Indoor air pollutants can cause respiratory symptoms like sneezing and congestion, a scratchy throat, and even more serious health problems like lung and heart disease. Jenny, what are we going to do?
Fear not, Kristin. Introducing Air Doctor, the air purifier that filters out 99.99% of dangerous contaminants, so your lungs don't have to. This includes allergens, pollen, pet dander, dust mites, mold spores, and even bacteria and viruses.
Okay, great. Thank God, because really the first part of that had me very worried.
I know.
Air Doctor comes with a 30-day money-back guarantee. So if you don't love it, you just send it back for a refund minus the shipping. You just head to airdoctorpro.com and use promo code eX-Files Rewatch. That's with the E. eX-Files Rewatch. You'll get up to $300 off of their air purifiers.
Exclusive to podcast customers, you'll also receive a free 3-year warranty on any unit, which is an additional $84 value. Lock this special offer by going to airdoctorpro.com and use promo code EXFILESREWATCH. That's X-Files Rewatch.
With your long-forgotten name, we call upon you. We call upon you. In the words of the unspeakable language, we call upon you. We call upon you. By the spilt blood of the wicked, who walk upon this world, sprouting the words of false idols, we call upon you. We call upon you. On the land of the dead harvest, that which brings the earth itself into your service, Yamal, we call upon you. We call upon you. We call upon you. We call upon you. Yamal calls upon you.
The Sprouting, a Call of Cthulhu actual play podcast by Blighthouse Studio. Find us on your podcatcher of choice.
People often look at me with confusion when I ask them what their only one in the room story is. They think it has to be like mine, where I went to a 600-person event and discovered that I was the only Black person there. I know. Horrifying, right? Hi, I'm Laura Cathcart-Robbins, and I am the host and creator of the podcast Only One in the Room. Every week, my co-host Scott Slaughter and I invite you to join us for an hour and lose yourself in someone's only one story. This podcast is for anyone who's ever felt alone in a room full of people, which is to say that this podcast is for everyone.
Okay, so Trondheim's like, surely you, Scully, are not buying this. But Scully has already invested the emotional equivalent of her life savings into the SS Mulder and is full speed ahead.
The SS Mulder.
While they're having this little chat, oh no, Halverson, the first mate, gets bonked. And his skull is fractured and he is dead, and I hate this for him.
Yeah, and as they're looking for who might have done this bonk, they go into the kitchen and they open the fridge. Is that where this man is? He's in the fridge?
He appears to be chilling in a fridge, and he's afflicted with the mystery business.
Jenny and I both pulled the sound clip independently because it made both of us laugh so much.
Yeah, Mulder's like, who are you? And he says,
Captain Barclay, commanding officer, USS Arden.
Captain Barclay is clutching a bottle of what I wrote down as Jack Daniels, but what LaToya illuminated for me is Jim Dandy's, a prop liquor.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, here's the thing. Here's something. Look at this man's fingernails.
Oh,
they are, Kristin.
No.
They're like,
I know.
They're like a good inch long. If the premise is that there's something in the water that's causing their like cells to like age and break down, and their senescence is being attacked, etc. Why would his fingernails grow real long, real fast?
I don't know. And I also I actually never really put together how much time had passed on this ship before they get there, because that could be part of the explanation is that he's been there for a minute. But
I mean, it was only 18 hours from when people were leaving the ship to when they were rescued or discovered in their life raft.
And then
the next day, Scully went to the hospital.
Yeah,
Mulder's
so
urging.
It's been 3 days. 4.
Yeah.
We'll give him a week even. Your nails don't get this long in a week. Yeah, I don't know, but I hate it. Don't bring me into your fingernail discussions, okay?
According to the captain's log, a growing light came up through the fog in the middle of the night like it was on fire. The power was cut, the sea stopped, the wind stopped, and time got lost. I'm 35 years old, he says.
They took my toys!
They took my toys! I'm sorry. They took my toys! I'm sorry. I can't. I'm out of the groove.
Yeah.
I don't remember how he says
For
I
those
took my
of you
toys.
who want to understand that reference, you need to listen to Buffering the Vampire Slayer season 6 Halloween episode. What's it called? Not Fear Itself. All the Way. All the Way. That's where you go. Go to All the Way. You can find that reference for your enjoyment. So he also says the ship, he says everything stopped, even the sea, even the wind. The ship began to bleed from the hull. Trondheim's like, you're a drunken liar. Trondheim, Jesus, the man is 35 years old.
So Mulder and Scully huddle up and they're like, okay, well, clearly this guy couldn't have killed Halverson because he's 35 going on 100 and his delicate little wrists couldn't wield a pipe.
Also, he's drinking a cup of water, which he soon thereafter dies. And so you have to think the man's been drinking Jim Dandies for long enough to kind of plateau. And then immediately they give him this water.
They're like, drink this. You'll feel better.
You'll feel so much better. I'm a medical doctor. Water. It's good for you.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Trondheim is very sweetly up at the top deck, giving a seaman's funeral, a sailor's funeral to Halverson. Do you like
a funeral at sea?
Thank you.
A burial at sea.
Listen, you know what? There's 2 of us for a reason, okay? One of us has the idea, the other one has the right word.
Seaman's wettening.
So he's singing in Norwegian, and he pushes Halverson's body out to sea. But then Olafsson on the top deck with the lead pipe, Jenny. Look out.
Yeah. This is a pirate whaler who supplies the Japanese black market with whales, apparently, including blue whales. And I'm like, are blue whales even... Can we even do that as a species? They're the biggest ones.
Yeah, well, look at Olafsson, though. He's a pretty tough guy.
Okay.
Do you know that my sister lives in Hudson, and maybe I've already told you this off mic, Jenny, but when we first went to Hudson, we saw all of the street signs are really cute. They have little whales on them. And so when we went to see the apartment that she rented, we said to the guy that was showing us the place, the whales are so cute. And he said, yeah, well, the whales have a long history here because when whales would be killed, we were like, screech! They would be brought up the Hudson River and in Hudson, they would deal with the carcasses of the whales. And so the river would literally run red. And so it's just this huge dissonance between there's all these cute little whales all over Hudson now. And you ask why. And this was the reason.
You suddenly notice the odd shape of the molding around the fireplace. You're like, wait, why is the molding curved? All of the structural elements of the house are actually whale bones.
Whale ribs, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, sorry to harm everyone, but we were talking about whaling. So Olafsson's guys left him behind, right? That's the theory. He was with 3 other guys. They got picked up by the captain. It was in the captain's log that they picked up 4 Norwegian sailors. And the theory from Trondheim, which seems accurate, is that the 3 other guys got on the ship and Olafsson didn't. They left him behind.
When Scully comes back and she's like, Captain Barclay died in the last 15 minutes, she says, it's almost as if he's turning into a pillar of salt. Kristin, you know, pillars of salt, one of our favorite things.
I've heard of it. It's like
here on the pod.
Do you think that Mulder would turn around walking away from Scully and Scully would turn around do you think that there's a difference? One of them would turn around and the other wouldn't?
Oh, if they were fleeing from Sodom and Gomorrah and God was like, don't.
Yes, whatever you
Wait,
do.
and you're saying like they're leaving together.
They're
which
leaving
one
together.
Of them would turn around.
Yeah.
I mean, I say Mulder
would turn around.
Yeah, because he'd be like, I have to know.
And then Scully would be a pillar of salt.
No, Mulder would get turned into a pillar of salt.
Oh, I thought that when you turn around, the other person gets turned.
No, you turn around and you get turned into a pillar of salt.
Are you sure?
Based on my track record, I could understand why you wouldn't think that I
thought that the wife got turned into a pillar of salt because the husband.
Yeah, because she looked back. Lot's wife looked back.
Oh, and Lot's wife turned into a pillar of salt. Oh, okay,
yeah.
Okay.
What? The wife of a husband.
The wife of a husband. Okay, got it. In my mind, I somehow romanticized the story, which was that Lot was walking up ahead and his wife was behind him and he looked back to make sure she was okay, but then therefore turned her into a pillar of salt.
You're conflating it with Eurydice and Orpheus.
Right. And what did they turn into?
They just get
yanked back into the underworld.
Orpheus goes to the underworld to retrieve his recently deceased beloved, Eurydice.
Yeah.
And he smooth talks Hades and he plays his little lyre and Hades is like, you know what? You're a pretty chill guy. I guess just this one time I can make an exception and you can leave with your wife. There's just one condition. You can't look back.
Right.
Not until you're fully out of the underworld.
But that motherfucker looks back.
He looks back and his beloved, Eurydice, gets zooped back down.
I see.
Into the underworld.
Yeah, I did conflate the two stories in my mind.
Look, classic tales, ancient lore, turning arounds.
Just like
turnings around.
Ace of Base once said, Jenny.
Don't turn around. Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, Mulder doesn't taste the salt. Kristin is shocked. Mulder takes first watch against Olafsson, not to be confused with Olaf, the very adorable snowman from the animated feature Frozen.
Or Olaf, the troll from Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Yes.
When Mulder goes to wake up Scully to switch watch, and she's like, I just fell asleep. And he's like, do you want a few more minutes? Because they're in love.
They are in love.
And she's like, no, I'm up. But they're both showing signs of aging or whatever.
Scully's face coming up off the wooden plank that she's sleeping on, I just can't handle. They're arguing still with their wrinkled faces about time travel, and you hear them talking, and Mulder says, but theoretically you're saying it's possible. Like, they're just fully debating, all wrinkled up. Trondheim is in the mirror. He's looking at the man in the mirror. Also very aged. And Scully makes a really good point. If this is rapid aging, why hasn't our hair grayed? Like, not all of the signs of aging are showing up. She has a theory, and Jenny and I also both marked the same sound clip because there was no way we could explain Scully's theory to you. She has to do it herself.
Scully's Mulder moment incoming.
Mulder, what do you know about free radicals?
Is this a quiz?
They're highly reactive chemicals containing extra electrons. Now, they can attack DNA, proteins. They can cause our body tissue and cell membranes to oxidize.
Grow old, you mean?
It's the prevailing theory on how our bodies age.
So you think something is triggering that reaction in us?
Well, this is just a theory. But what if this ship is drifting towards another massive metallic source, like a meteor? Maybe it's way down deep in the ocean or embedded into an iceberg. But the two could effectively be acting as positive and negative terminals, with the ocean itself being a kind of giant battery. That level of electromagnetic energy could be exciting the free radicals and effectively oxidizing every piece of matter in its field.
The fire that is lit in my heart when I get to hear Scully say, Mulder, what do you know about fill in the blank?
Yeah.
Quiz him.
Do you think that if you put Benjamin Button on this boat, he would just stay the same age? Write to us at hello@bufferingcast.com.
Bufferingcast Dod Kalm.
Okay, so the ship is bleeding, but it's not. It's actually rust. And Mulder has noticed one pipe that has not been oxidized. So he's going to take Scully on a little quest to follow the yellow pipe road as Trondheim stays back with Olafsson.
Okay, quick question. Cast them. Scully, Mulder, Olafsson, Trondheim.
Olafsson is clearly the lion.
Okay. Olafsson's the lion. You feel like Mulder is the scarecrow?
What's their...
Scully is
So
Dorothy?
the scarecrow has no brains. The Tin Man has no heart. The Tin Man needs a heart. The scarecrow needs some brains.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, probably that's right, because like if you like say brains is science, which is really simplifying matters, then Mulder would be the scarecrow and Scully would be the Tin Man, because
No, Scully is Dorothy because she's like, what am I doing here? I didn't ask for this.
Shit. Well, I imagined like needing heart was needing like faith and hope to believe.
Oh, okay. I was thinking maybe heart to like not like murder multiple people or try to.
You could say that Trondheim is also like, what the fuck am I doing here? Like trying to click his heels to just go home. But hey, you know what? You just heard our email address. So if you have different opinions on the characterization for what's that movie called? Wizard of Oz?
The Wizard of Oz. Okay. As soon as Scully and Mulder are out of the room, Olafsson is trying to get at Trondheim, trying to like drive a wedge between him and the other two. Trondheim says, we all have to die. Olafsson says, not like this. Trondheim's like, And then they have an exchange. Wow. Where Trondheim's like, you're a murderer. Why would I listen to you? Olafsson's like, I only killed Halvorsen to survive. You'd have done the same. You still might. Trondheim is like, in 1 second, start holding my beer. But first, tell me how I cannot keep aging. Thank you.
Oh, God. Wouldn't you? I feel like I would not believe Olafsson if this man who just tried to kill me with a lead pipe told me the way I would live is drink from the toilet. The disgusting.
Yeah.
Like.
Yeah, I would be waiting for Ashton Kutcher to pop out from a closet being like, you've been punked. Why? What gave? How does Olafsson, like, how'd they figure this out? How did he and his other 3 dudes sort this? Do their little detective work?
Truly, no answer there. Absolutely no answer. Can you drink pee? You can, right?
It's sterile. I think also when I was a child, I read like multiple accounts about people who got lost in the woods,
stuck in your
and
car.
Survived
you have to drink your pee,
by drinking their own pee.
I just wondered. I mean, it's probably too late for them to drink their own pee because they've drank the water. So they're yeah. But if they had known before, they could have, instead of sardine juice, maybe just peed into the little cup Scully brought and drank their own pee to survive. Would you rather eat ass jerky or drink your own pee? No, not your own pee. Would you rather eat ass jerky or drink the pee of that person whose ass you're eating?
Ass jerky.
Yeah, me too.
1000%.
Me too.
Mulder does this math so quickly once they get down to the sewage processing hold. He's like, only drinkable water on the ship is down here. All the other water is contaminated. Something must have gotten into the tanks.
So many rats.
But the water in the sewage system is being recycled repeatedly.
Yeah.
I don't care for that.
I don't like it. Not at all. I honestly, like, not to talk about Fallout too much, but we just watched Ella Purnell's character in Fallout drink radioactive water from a really dirty looking bucket, and I would drink like 14 gallons of that shit before I drank this toilet water. This toilet water is giving me horrible vibes.
And the way that he's like I don't know. There's got to be
a better way. Meanwhile, of course, Olafsson is dead. I don't know how Trondheim managed to kill Olafsson. I didn't think he was killable, but he did it. And when Scully and Mulder get back, Trondheim says he fell asleep and Olafsson got out. Mulder's like, these fucking ties are cut, so stop with your bullshit. And Trondheim's basically like, just leave me alone. Like, he doesn't even try to come up with more lies. And
there's nothing wrong with his knot.
There's nothing wrong with Mulder's knot.
Scully's like, boys, stop your griping. I need some of your blood and some of your urine. Stat.
Fucking Trondheim immediately says, the two of you are full of theories. First it's one thing, then another. By the time you figure it out, we'll all be dead. I have written in my notes, we'll all be Dod, but Jenny hates me, so I changed it back to dead.
No, don't change it back. But I wonder how he feels having just killed a man over this information that they now have the right
information.
Answer.
Yeah. I guess you didn't have to murder Olafsson to get the fucking deets. All right. Scully's diary. Scully has, I didn't even remember to write this down, but I remember it, the most beautiful handwriting of all time. We never get to see her handwriting because she's always typing in her little computer.
I did not clock her handwriting. Is she writing in script?
Yeah, it's very like
nice.
It's very, if you were like maybe went to Catholic school, kind of perfect execution. I also went to Catholic school. However, I'm lapsed. I haven't practiced cursive of any kind in too long. So
I'm a lapsed cursive user.
Yeah.
Well, cursive is out the window anyway, Kristin, so.
I know. Sad, though.
R.I.P. Okay, so she's talking about the results of the blood tests, revealing extremely high concentrations of sodium chloride. Though the contaminated water itself is not saline, it appears to catalyze existing body fluids, causing massive and rapid cellular damage. So what exactly is going on?
All I know is they're being oxidized. That's the only thing I've got.
And it's because there's salt in the water.
But there's not. She says specifically it's not saline.
So what does that mean?
There's something in the water that has a reaction with their body chemistry that is causing oxidization.
Oh, so you're telling me it's still an X-File?
It's an X. Yeah, it's still an X-File. I mean, at least it's unsolved. Especially because the ship sinks. It's gone. There's no evidence by the end. Just like your classic X-File.
Oh, yeah. Mulder returns to deliver his urine sample, looking like a combo of kind of like Jigsaw and the Queller Demon and Toracon.
And Fred Armisen.
And Fluky. And Fred Armisen.
I don't know why, but there's a little Fred Armisen mixed in there for me.
All right.
He's doing the worst of everyone because he got so sick on the boat for so long. So he's already dehydrated. Yeah. Also, for a dehydrated man, that is a lot of urine in that cup. Wanted to make Scully proud. Look how much I peed, baby.
Trondheim not looking too bad.
No, he obviously got a nice big gulp of the toilet water, so maybe that's helping him. But he has, honestly, his pitch to Scully, if he were to have, I don't know if his plan is like cut Mulder out of the water rations and then kill Scully. Like, I don't know if that's where he was.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, that's what he's thinking about.
But his pitch on paper is not horrible. Like, Mulder is doing so bad and they only have so much water. It doesn't seem like the water that they're drinking is helping Mulder at all. So he says they should start looking out for themselves. This man has not watched episodes 1 through 42 of the X-Files.
No, he doesn't understand what's going on here. Scully's like, fuck off. I'll never betray my beloved. And then she goes back to her diary.
Mulder's urinalysis continues to indicate his kidney's failure to excrete the substance I'm calling heavy salt. Whether the untainted water taken from the sewage system is even helping him at all is unclear. What does remain clear to me is that I can't give up trying.
Does this count as Scully at Mulder's bedside? Because I wrote Scully is dozing at Mulder's bedside, so...
You know what? Yeah. And she's like tending to him and like monitoring him. This is definitely Scully at your bedside. Again.
Hit it, bitch.
Everything is alright. Scully's at your bedside. Relatives, you just cry. Scully's at your bedside.
All right, so Trondheim's, my scene locations in this are simply out of their mind because we're always on a boat. So this scene location is called Trondheim's Sneak. Trondheim has snuck out of his little blankies, and Scully goes after him with her gun, thank God. But before she goes down, she sees the toilet water drain backwards into the... This bitch couldn't even leave the 4 sips of toilet water for them. He fucking sucked that shit back into the tank. She finds him.
So it's going into the tank and then it's getting cleaned in some way?
I think it's already clean. The water, just the sitting water in the toilet is already clean water.
But it's in a toilet.
I mean, I agree with you, but, you know, beggars can't be choosers, Jenny.
Okay.
Trondheim has amped up his drama to level 10. He's got a giant metal tool of some kind in his hand, and he bangs on...
Listen to this! Bang, bang, bang!
You know what that is? A funeral bell. And then he says to Scully, what are you going to do? Shoot me? Why is everyone saying this to Scully lately? Everyone's like, oh, you little lady, you're going to use that big gun? You're going to shoot me? I don't think so. Yeah, Scully could shoot him. She should shoot him.
Well, I just feel like maybe firing a gun inside of a ship that's like rapidly deteriorating might not be like the safest thing in general to do.
Sure.
But he locks himself in the sewage hold and backflushes all the water. What a piece of shit.
Chekhov's sewage hold.
Okay, Scully scrambles through the kitchen and everywhere else that she can think of to try to find anything to drink. Kristin, we've got sardine juice, half a dozen lemons, and the water from a snow globe. Name that cocktail.
Ooh. The sparkly fish. You had more time than me. What did you come up with?
I didn't actually consider the prompt for myself until just now. So we did that in the same amount of time.
Okay.
What I came up with was sailor's warning.
Wow, that is really the answers you would expect from Kristin Guitar and Jenny Owen Savage.
What was yours? Sparkly fish?
Yeah. I'm rewatching BoJack Horseman, and that just made me think everyone's either a Zoe or a Zelda, you know?
That's what they say.
Jenny, I had to know for my own research in case I was ever on a ship that didn't have liquid for me if I should consider drinking the contents of a snow globe.
I don't think that's
And no, the answer is unless you I mean, I didn't do like a microfiche deep dive on this, but like what I learned is that originally the liquid used in snow globes was a light oil. But now, and I don't know when now began, now it's
I don't know when now began. Sounds like this episode.
It's a mixture of water, antifreeze, and glycerol. So it is a miracle that the outer hull breaks, crashing this liquid to the ground because they were about to say corn nuts as they crashed through the glass table if they drank this.
How about Mulder's reaction to Scully listing the contents of this jar. He goes,
I hated it. I hate it. I don't like a mouth slurp generally, but when it's on this like moldy, salty Mulder face, it really put me off.
He's also like, I couldn't possibly, you have to drink it. And you're like, ah. And he's like, because your life expectancy as a woman is longer than mine. And you're like, oh, okay. And then he's like, and your body retains more water in the fatty tissues. And you're like, Mulder, I feel like your bedside manner is, what he's actually trying to say is, I love you.
Oh, I thought what he actually was trying to say is, you should drink this because you're the daughter of a father.
Also that.
She says no. She absolutely refuses. And then, as I mentioned,
the ship makes the decision for them.
Yeah. That
he says
sardine.
of her diary.
What did you call it? The sailor's warning is
The sailor's warning.
Mm-hmm. I want to know if she got the sparkles out, honestly.
He says of her little diary, it's good you kept a record. Which is also like saying I love you. Mulder.
Yeah. The drowning of Trondheim is my next location shot.
Yeah. Did you write not Penny's boat in your notes at all?
I somehow didn't.
I mean, he sucks, so that could be why.
The way that so you see, before we see the really cool shot of him like floating in the water, just like a snow globe, we see the like water spray out. And then the way that it's shot is like you go to the outside of the door and you slowly pan up the steps. And for some reason, I was like, are Mulder and Scully watching this? Like there was something about the choice of the shot. I was like, they're just watching this man drown, but it's just what the director chose.
Yeah. Scully's like, this is what you get when you mess with us.
Amazing.
So
Mulder's trying to make jokes about wanting to have gone on a cruise in his older age, but the service on this ship is terrible, Scully.
Oh. And then they're in love.
It's not fair. It's not our time. We still have work to do.
Mulder, when they found me, after the doctors and even my family had given up, I experienced something that I never told you about. Even now, it's hard to find the words. But there's one thing I'm certain of. As certain as I am of this life. We have nothing to fear when it's over.
I'm so tired.
You should sleep.
Oh no.
Oh no. And then like the literal next thing we hear is in her diary, Mulder lost consciousness. Like she's witnessing him die.
I know.
They haven't had any food or liquid for over 24 hours. And then this is all what she's writing in her Scully diary, in her beautiful handwriting. Do you want to talk about this? This is a beautiful story. This was like a really nice touch.
This is lovely. I'm just going to read it verbatim. Okay. She says, among Halverson's belongings, I found a children's book of Norse legends. From what I can tell, the pictures show the end of the world. Not in a sudden firestorm of damnation as the Bible teaches us, but in a slow covering blanket of snow. First the moon and the stars will be lost in a dense white fog. Then the rivers and the lakes and the sea will freeze over. And finally a wolf named Skull will open his jaws and eat the sun, sending the world into an everlasting night. I think I hear the wolf at the door.
Here I thought that Mulder was going to write poetry for Scully first, but
here we are.
Scully is the poet. She was the poet all along.
Yeah, but never mind, because the rescue squad's here and everything's going to be fine. This shot of the rescuers' flashlight in between their little heads.
Their little heads. I know their heads are like both tipped towards each other, passed out.
Because they are.
I felt a bit emotional.
beloved to one another.
Also, I feel like Scully has like a really intense relationship to pens. You know, like she dropped the pen. It was the last thing to go. Last episode, she was stealing a pen. She was looking for a pen. There was a pen in the episode with that witch lady, devil lady, who like, you know what I mean? There's just always a pen with Scully. She's always after a pen. Back in Bethesda, it's been 36 hours since the rescue. And she learns from this doctor, the same doctor, that
Dr.
Lascos, that her notes, her diary, that is the reason that Mulder's life was saved, because he did not respond as well to treatment as she did. But because of her notes, they used synthetic hormones and they seem to be working.
Also, the ship sank an hour after they were rescued.
Yeah. Usually you don't believe like you're like, oh, the government disappeared that. But I'm like, no, this ship just fully sank. I don't think the government had to do anything for this ship to sink. It was full of water.
It's a miracle that it held together as long as it did.
It is.
And then we get a spooky shot to close the episode of water, the final frontier.
And that's actually the same as the opening shot, which I thought was a really beautiful shot. And also, I didn't note this as we talked, but there are like 2 or 3 shots of this ship, like backlit fog, just gorgeous
Beautiful.
shots, like shots where like the camera crew was like, and that's it. I never need to film another thing in my life.
They actually had to have the ship moved in the middle of filming to a place where the light pollution from Vancouver wouldn't conflict with shots like that.
Wow. I just assumed they were in the Norwegian Sea. So
actually, we should talk too a little bit about how much of a nightmare this shoot was by all accounts, except for Chris Carter, who's like, another lovely little episode.
Chris Carter. Yeah.
Everyone is like, I hate this. This was the worst. It was cold. It was cramped. People were constantly hitting their heads in various parts of the ship. It was just like really, really challenging. And plus Mulder and Scully had on some days like 3 to 4 hours of makeup.
And they're at like, this is 19
shooting.
episodes into the season. So they're already so exhausted. So then they're like, oh, it'll be so much easier production wise because we already have the ship. But like, yeah. And LaToya had notes about how when they use the ship in Colony and the other one, what's the other one called? Endgame. They had painted, the ship was its actual color, which was just white. But for this, they painted it all these like dark browns and like rusty colors for corrosion. Right. And so it was like, you know, you couldn't stand up all the way. It's like dark and dank in there. You're covered in fucking makeup. It was not a good time for these guys. Oh my God, are you going to talk about the line? Good.
Yeah.
My favorite of LaToya's notes.
There's an outtake where Gillian Anderson, in heavy makeup, flawlessly delivering her monologue about Scully's certainty that they have nothing to fear from the hereafter, concludes the sequence by saying she's sure of one thing: Howard Gordon is a dead man.
I loved it. Was also like the way the full quote said like, flawlessly delivering her monologue about Scully, right? Like that, like she gave this full performance and just threw it away just to be like, fuck you, Howard Gordon. And had to do it again. Yeah. Incredible.
I also read somewhere that this shoot like happened to be like located very close to where David Duchovny was living at the time.
Oh.
And that was like a silver lining. And so like moving forward, production started seeking out shooting locations that were like close to where David and or Gillian lived to try to appease them.
Oh God. Also, bears mentioning, we talked about the fact that the title, which is supposed to be like Norwegian for Dod Kalm, even though it is not, is taken probably from a 1989 horror action movie, Dod Kalm, starring Billy Zane and Nicole Kidman, which, Jenny, I know we don't have like a ton of time to add a million watches, but I, at least on my own time, really want to watch this film. It's a plot that focuses on a married couple who, after they tragically lose their son, are spending time isolated at sea when they come across a stranger who has abandoned a sinking ship. So there's a little overlap and probably what the title of the episode was referencing. Plus, LaToya also said in her notes, I immediately wondered if this episode was the inspiration for M. Night Shyamalan taking us to the beach that makes you old, and then learned that this episode is, in fact, actually referenced in the movie Old. So that's cool. I have not seen Old, but I do remember all of the old internet goings on when that film came out.
Yeah. The beach that makes you old.
Anyway, I think we have perhaps done it once again.
I think the only thing left to really nail down is who's the smuggest bitch of the episode.
Who are your nominees?
I thought Olafson really.
Yeah, he really.
I mean,
he is. You could see him. You know how I'm going to start sort of like testing hypotheses?
Oh, are you going to specify the null and the alternative hypothesis, decide upon the significance level, collect data, and then interpret your results and draw a conclusion?
Not quite that, Jenny. Instead, I'm going to try to imagine that person putting green poison in a soda before giving it to Mulder or Scully. And if it feels right, then that person can have smug bitch. So yeah, let's give it to Olafson, smuggest bitch. Congratulations to Norway on your win.
Yeah. And congratulations to me. I'm Jenny Owen Youngs. And when I'm not watching the X-Files or Buffy or Fallout or Yellow Jackets, I'm usually making music. My latest album is called Avalanche. You can listen to it wherever you stream music. You can find it at your local independent record store, jennyowenyoungs.com. And you can come see me play at Mountain Stage in Charleston, West Virginia on November 3rd with Brother Elsie, Matt Pond PA, and more to be announced. That's going to be really fun. And hey, give me a shout on socials at Jenny Owen Youngs.
I just want everyone to know that every time Jenny says "and hey," she also waves, and you don't get to see it, but I do.
It can't be helped.
I'm Kristin Russo, and when I'm not having a blast talking about 90s television with Jenny, I am often working with and for LGBTQ communities. You can learn more about my work on my website, KristinNoeline.com. That's KristinNoeline. Use that spelling to follow me on social media if you dare.
Buffering or Rewatch Adventures on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok at BufferingCast, or you can drop us an email at hello@bufferingcast.com.
We would love if you supported our work. Please join our Patreon, patreon.com/bufferingcast, or of course, all of this is found on our website. We do a lot of fun live watches over there. We've got fun every time Jenny writes a jingle. It gets uploaded to Patreon, which we have a recent new jingle added into the mix. Plus, you get things like advance access to tickets to live shows, and it's just a good time. It's a really fun community.
This episode was produced by Kristin Russo, Jenny Owen Youngs, and LaToya Ferguson with support from our consultant, Mackenzie McDade. It was edited by John Mark Nelson. Until next time, the status of this X-File is hanging around down at the local watering hole favored by freelance ship's captains, sipping on a sailor's warning.
Or a sparkly fish.
Talmor is my home. My family have worked the land for generations. My gran says the island does not belong to us, but we belong to the island. And we must be ready, for a great evil is coming, and death follows with it.
Listen and subscribe to the latest season of Undertow, The Harrowing, a Storyglass production presented by Realm, available wherever you get your podcasts.
Hi, I'm Jennifer, a co-founder of the Go Kid Go network. At Go Kid Go, putting kids first is at the heart of every show that we produce. That's why we're so excited to introduce a brand new show to our network called The Search for the Silver Lining, a fantasy adventure series about a spirited young girl named Isla who time travels to the mythical land of Camelot. During her journey, Isla meets new friends, including King Arthur and his Knights of the Round Table, and learns valuable life lessons with every quest, sword fight, and dragon ride. Positive and uplifting stories remind us all about the importance of kindness, friendship, honesty, and positivity. Join me and an all-star cast of actors, including Liam Neeson, Emily Blunt, Kristen Bell, Chris Hemsworth, among many others, in welcoming the Search for the Silver Lining podcast to the Go Kid Go network by listening today. Look for the Search for the Silver Lining on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you get your podcasts.